Yeah, very disappointing. So just out of training yesterday, and he came off the field with a little bit of pain in his knee, and we weren't sure how bad it was. We sort of wanted an assessment this morning, and came in with a fairly swollen knee. So yeah, not available for this weekend, but we'll have some further tests on it and see how far away he is.
I know the boys have been talking the other day about how excited they all were and determined to kind of get a win up for him in this one. Do you think there'll be that extra little bit of motivation now that he can't play?
Yeah, hopefully. I think we've had a really good focus this week on trying to get our best preparation, overcome the jet lag, and we certainly spoke about it after the game last weekend that this has been his week, that he breaks the record this week, and it was going to be special, but yeah, the boys found out this morning, and they were all pretty shattered, as is Ben, but he'll get his time.
Steve, just on this weekend, do you see this as a chance to secure a finals berth? I mean, you can find out, obviously, the Waratahs playing the Chiefs at 3 o'clock. Do you go into it this mindset?
Well, mathematically, you could look at it that way, but for us, it's like I said, it's overcoming the jet lag. So we've had 2 good weeks on tour, 9 points out of a possible 10, and the guys trained exceptionally well through the jet lag whilst we were overseas, and the focus this week has been trying to overcome that jet lag and put our best performance on the paddock this weekend without any excuses. So similar to every week, and certainly, you know, when we spoke at the beginning of the year, it wasn't about where we were going to end up, and nothing's changed at this stage. It's about the performance on the weekend that matters the most, and the results will look after itself.
But prior to Benny A's injury, you were set to name the same starting side 3rd week in a row.
Yeah, which is a good place to be. I guess earlier in the year we'd experimented with a bit of rotation and making sure the squad motivation was high and the guys were nice and fresh, week in, week out. I think what we saw on tour was a group of guys that combined really well, that overcame some obstacles in terms of travel and different venues, and performed exceptionally well, and we want to reward those guys by getting another opportunity this week.
Bernie, what is it that you think Benny's done?
Well, unsure at this stage, but he felt a bit of pain in his knee. Walked off the field okay, and seems to be okay with it this morning. Like, there's nothing out of place, there's no fracture or anything like that, but just in too much pain to train and certainly to push through and play this week. So, like I said, we'll get a few scans this afternoon, and then we'll make a further assessment from there.
Is it the hope, though, that it's not like I know there's that month-long break, so that he will be back, you know, potentially for the next game? Yeah. I mean, that's the optimistic viewpoint at this stage, is that Benny's going to be right for the Reds game. But yeah, you know, with injuries, you never really can tell until we get into the rehab process. So a couple of weeks down the track, we'll know if he's a genuine chance for the Reds or not. What sort of clicked for you guys after passing 4 weeks?
Well, the combination, I think, worked really well for us. Like I said, selecting the same team 2 weeks in a row on tour, and then for this 3rd week, we feel that the combination's working really well. We've certainly spoken about trying to improve our attack, and there were certainly aspects of our attack. In the first game overseas against the Kings, we had to fight our way through a bit of a deficit in the first half, and I think the guys bounced back and found some good shape and some good line breaks that created the opportunities to score some tries. And then against Jaguares, it was a pretty tight game up until that second half, where we found some holes in their defence through good skill and execution, and the boys were enjoying that. So I think the biggest turnaround over the last month has probably been a change of focus towards our attack, and the execution of that attack is becoming a lot better.
Talking about who's in, Tommy Banks had a fantastic tour. Leaving him at fullback, tell us about that.
Yeah, so we sort of experimented with Tommy on the wing this year, and Aiden at fullback, and we just felt that Tommy probably wasn't having the impact on the wing that we would have liked, and we felt that with Aiden's experience, we could play him on the wing. He could still have the same senior player leadership role that he'd been fulfilling at fullback on the wing. And yeah, we tried it against the Kings, and the combination worked really well. There was really good chat, really good connection in the back three, and then yeah, like you saw last week, Banksy got over for 2 nice tries, one from set piece and then the other from an opportunity from a bobble ball where Cocky put the ball through, but it was Johnny on the spot with good speed and then good finishing skill. Probably could have scored another try, but left it for Andy Muirhead to score that one as well. So, yeah, I think it's a very similar case to what we're seeing across the team. The combination is just right at the moment, and I think Banksy at fullback and Aiden on the wing is our right combination for now.
And the importance of this coming match this weekend as far as the playoffs go, is that something you're impressing upon the guys?
No, what we've been pressing for the last couple of weeks, in fact all year, is making sure that there's no excuses at the end of the week. We want to make sure that we put everything into our preparation so that the guys can perform to the best of their ability on the weekend, and we've seen that over the last 2 weekends particularly, and no different this week. The challenge for us is getting through the jet lag early in the week, and then making sure our focus is right for the back end of the week.
But in saying that you're not thinking about finals, like effectively this is the last home game of the season and could be the last home game for you as Brumbies coach. How are you feeling about that?
Well, I hadn't thought about it until then.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a sad moment when it's finally realised. I guess at this stage, you know, the focus and the belief in the team is that we're going to be there at the final, through the finals. And like I said, the outcome will look after itself. If we get our performance right, if we get our preparation right, and we get our performance right on the weekend, then yes, this could be our last home game, or it could be our second last home game, or our third or fourth last home game. I don't know yet. So, yeah, thinking about things that might happen is something that we've spoken to the team about not doing. So I'm certainly not doing that at the moment.
For you personally, will that be a big moment, the last home game as the coach of the Brumbies?
It will be, yeah. It will be. If it's this weekend, we're not going to know. Even after this game, we're not going to know. So I'm not treating this like it is going to be my last game.
But the other thing this week was Wallabies news. Before we talk about the guys that were in there, the one that was left out, Scott Fardy.
Yeah.
How did you view that? And I know it's an interesting situation for you, given your double role.
Yeah, yeah, disappointing for Fards. I think his form is certainly warranted. He's been one of our standout players. This year, I think he was man of the match last weekend against Aguares, and he's a senior player in our team, and he's been doing an outstanding job at all of the duties off the field that a leader has to fulfil. So, yeah, disappointing for him, and something that we spoke about as a team, but kind of understandable in that he's moving on at the end of this year, and probably before the Rugby Championship kicks on, he might be moving overseas. So we're not sure in terms of all that yet, but I think that was the main reason why he didn't get picked, just looking towards the future, making sure that we're starting to develop those players at the next level sooner rather than later.
The guys that are in there, eight guys, do you think that's a fair reflection of where you guys are at this year, a bit of form turnaround?
Oh, you always look at it. I think I probably do the same every year. Even when I was playing, it was looking at where we are on the competition ladder and then hoping that selection is reflected in that. So we're currently first on the ladder, but we're not the most number of players selected from a province. So, yeah, I mean, but like I said, you look at the selection, and there's reasons why guys have been selected and why guys haven't been selected, and certainly understandable. If Fards was in, maybe that tips the balance, and we do actually have the most number of players in the Wallaby squad. But yeah, I think the guys who are in there have worked really hard this year on combining in the Brumbies outfit, and that's what we've said since day dot. If you play well in this team and this team plays well, then those sort of selection issues look after themselves, and we've seen that.
The other thing that happened this week, lifted on a ban on signing players as well. Do you think that'll help players' mentality? I know you're not going to be here next year, so
yeah.
What role you're playing in re-signing?
Yeah, we've gone through a fairly lengthy process there in terms of contract negotiations with a number of players and back and forth with the ARU, making sure that they're happy with the signings that we've made, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll get to announce the majority of guys that we want to announce.